Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. In his book, Into Thin Air, John Krakauer tells how he was one of 5 New Zealanders to successfully climb all the way to the top of Mount Everest some years ago. The climb down was a different story, however. Only Krakauer survived. His 4 teammates perished due to a series of miscalculations in ferocious weather. For many months, Krakauer had been anticipating reaching the summit of Mount Everest. "I'd been fantasizing about this moment," he wrote, "and the release of emotion that would accompany it. But now that I was finally here, actually standing on the summit of Mount Everest, I just couldn't summon the energy to care." Reaching the top of Mount Everest, he continued, is supposed to trigger a surge of intense elation, but the summit was only the halfway point. Any impulse I might have felt towards self-congratulation was extinguished by the overwhelming apprehension about the long, dangerous descent that lay ahead. It was on that hazardous descent that his 4 colleagues perished. Pastor Bill Hybels sees in this story an illustration of the journey of life. Midlife is a kind of summit, he writes. You have experience, a network, and a decent income. You may be relatively comfortable financially, but midlife is only the halfway point. The next stage of life and ministry may be the most perilous. A key word is sustainability. If you don't figure out how to make your life sustainable, you've got about 2 years left before they'll carry you out in a bag. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So we need to pace ourselves. A long-distance runner has to sustain a steady pace to go the distance. When he reached the end of his earthly life, the Apostle Paul could say, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race. I've kept the faith." He had a strong sense of accomplishment because he knew he was finishing well. The apostle used the analogy of the Greek and Roman games, where athletes had to sign an oath before participating, promising that they would compete fairly and honestly, respecting the rules. He pictured himself as an athlete about to come off the field after running well. As he reaches the finish line and prepares to hang up his spikes, he can honestly say that he's given the race his total effort and run with integrity. You see, the focus is not on winning as much as on finishing well. While hundreds may run every marathon race, there's only one winner. Far more important to most dedicated long-distance runners is completing the race. Some years ago, our daughter-in-law nearly died of an autoimmune disease that almost defied diagnosis. Miraculously, God brought her through, however, and in time she became an avid runner. Proof par excellence of healing. Recently, she ran a marathon in Colorado, starting at 9,000 feet in elevation, an altitude that would wind most runners from the plains. She had no illusions of winning by beating all the other runners, but she placed well, and her joy in finishing was palpable. So, the Christian life and ministry is not a competition to run better than others. It's a commitment to run all the way to the finish, getting to the top of Everest and back down to base camp, if you like. And it doesn't all depend on us. The Apostle Paul reminds us that God works in the lives of believers, giving us the desire and the willpower to do what pleases Him. The race of life calls for sustainability and perseverance. We're not called to run flat out, but to pace ourselves so we can reach the finish line honorably. Then, looking back on our life and ministry, we too will be able to say, with God's help, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. The process starts with a prayer containing a promise, which is summarized in an English hymn. O Jesus, I have promised to serve thee to the end. Be thou forever near me, my master and my friend. I shall not fear the battle if thou art by my side, nor wander from the pathway if thou wilt be my guide. Finish well. And thank you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections.